Welcome in, Slumpbusters. This is your boy Kyle, and we are back with another YouTube quick hitter. As you can tell by my attire, we have some San Diego Padres news to report. And in fact, it involves the man on the back of my jersey. Can you guess who it is? Can you guess which player? It would be one Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando Tatis is out at least the beginning of the season, so roughly around 2 to 3 months, with a wrist injury. And the San Diego Padres are now scrambling to try and figure out how they're going to work their roster together to start the season. Because last year, Fernando Tatis Jr. also got hurt periodically towards the end of the season. All 6 months, he was dealing with what was essentially a torn shoulder, which is kind of crazy because Fernando Tatis Jr. had one of his best offensive seasons in baseball last year. And if he hadn't gotten hurt at the very end of the season and the Padres hadn't collapsed, he would have walked away with the National League MVP at 22 years old. Fernando Tatis was insane last year hitting the baseball. He was on pace for nearly 50 homers had he played the entire season, and he did it all with a separated shoulder, which is ridiculous. But anyways, this time it's a wrist injury. There are connections that this may or may not be related to a motorcycle accident with Fernando Tatis Jr., which, by the way, my favorite part of all of this, and I can't believe this was a real thing, was that when Fernando Tatis was at his first spring training press conference and they asked him about the motorcycle accident that he was in, he responded to the question with "which one?" which is a real quote. I had to triple check. It was reported by Joel Sherman that that's a real thing that happened because, oh my goodness, what a little Freudian slip there that you don't know which motorcycle incident it was that may or may not have injured your wrist and violated your contract. Because I assume written somewhere in there is the same thing about how Marcus Mariota wasn't allowed to surf or Patrick Mahomes wasn't allowed to play basketball, written somewhere in the contract there. But anyways, Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to be out for the Padres. And when this happened last year, when the Padres from August 11th until the end of the season had a worse record than the Baltimore Orioles and missed the playoffs, the Padres basically just filled in with Ha-Seong Kim playing shortstop. And as much as Ha-Seong Kim is a fan favorite, he is at this point a bare minimum major leaguer. Maybe he would be a 7 or 6 hitter on the Pittsburgh Pirates, but not a viable option for a team that really, really wants to maximize their winning window right now. The Padres are the second highest spending team in Major League Baseball right now, which I didn't think I would see at any point in my lifetime. They're connected to Freddie Freeman. They're trying to sign Suzuki from Japan at about like $60 to $70 million. They're getting Mike Clevenger back, who they traded a ton of prospects for back in 2020. They're bringing back their rotation of Blake Snell and Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove and Chris Paddock. They're trying to get everyone together and healthy at the same time. And losing Fernando Tatis Jr. isn't a death sentence because in Major League Baseball, losing a single player is never a death sentence to a season, especially with expanded playoffs and how random baseball's playoff results can be, where health at the end of the season matters significantly more than health at the beginning of the season. It's no death sentence for the Padres, the same way that the Nationals losing Bryce Harper in free agency and winning the World Series the next year was no death sentence for them, or the fact that the Braves last year lost Ronald Acuna Jr. in July, traded for 4 new bats, whether it be Adam Duvall or World Series MVP Jorge Soler. They traded for an entire half of their offense brand new and then just won the World Series. So it's not a death sentence at all for any team. The Padres weren't a championship caliber team to begin with. They were just spending a lot of money to start the season. They're kind of about the same place they were last year, which is they're not as good as the Dodgers, but they also are about as good as any other team in the National League West or any other team in the National League. So losing Fernando Tatis certainly hurts, but they should be able to right the ship long enough to stay afloat because Major League Baseball is a weird sport. I don't understand why Mike Trout can't single-handedly get the Anaheim Angels to the postseason, the same way that singular players in the NFL, whether it be Mahomes or Josh Allen, have a sway on the game in such a way that their teams can become single-handedly relevant just by having them. I don't know why that doesn't exist in baseball, but it does. And one single player can't swing the fortunes of an entire team, no matter how large their wins above replacement is. So the Padres still have an incredibly deep roster. Their pitching staff is presumably going to get stronger year over year. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to happen exactly, other than just getting Mike Clevenger back. But altogether, they're not in trouble, but they should probably try and find some sort of alternative option, like putting Jerkson Profar or Ha-Sung Kim at shortstop for 2 months might not be the best move. I don't know exactly how they move around Cronenworth or bringing in another player. They kind of have a similar roster to last year, so makeshift, move this around. They didn't really have a great replacement for Tatis when he got hurt last year, so not exactly sure how this is going to work out. As for Tatis, signed the big extension already with the Padres, and the Padres can trade him whenever they want, whenever they decide that they'd like to go back to being the worst run franchise in Major League Baseball, like they were for my entire childhood. And they can trade him whenever they want. It's unfortunate if he ends up getting injured, but Tatis has already done enough for me to say, I don't need you to continue being great for 10 to 15 years. I hope that this continues to be amazing, but I've already gotten my magical memory. He's the greatest Padre to ever grace the field in my entire lifetime. And hopefully he continues to do that once he comes back from injuries. And maybe, just maybe, we can get back to the playoffs for the second time in my entire memorable lifetime, because I was 5 years old when the Padres last won a division title in the National League West. So thanks for stopping in, everybody. Make sure to subscribe here. Check out our podcast from last week, where we also talk about Major League Baseball's lockout coming to a close and the new rule changes going on all across Major League Baseball.